everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Places in News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to discuss some important places from the perspective of exam which have been in news for a while. So let us start with global places. The first one we will be addressing is Guinea-Bissau. If we talk about Guinea-Bissau, it has been in news because of the military coup that has taken place in this West African country. If we talk about the location of this particular country, we have to see that it lies on the Western African coast, on the coast of Atlantic Ocean, and it is bordered by two other countries, that is Senegal and then we have Guinea as well. The most important thing that you need to remember from here is the Bichagos archipelago, which is present on the coast, and it is known for the title of a UNESCO Biosphere Reserve. The climate in this particular country is tropical because of the nearness to the equator. As you can see in the given map, you will find the presence of tropical wet and dry forests here, and such seasons are also seen. Economy in this particular scenario is majorly dependent on cashew production, where we get to see one of the highest world per capita outputs in terms of cashew in this very country, and that is why it becomes very important in this supply chain. With the same context, you have to remember that India is one of those countries who is associated in this supply chain in terms of import. It is also known for the fishing and rice cultivation and coastal mangrove forests which are present there. If we talk about rivers, it is the Geba River which creates a wide estuarine system of the coast, and another factor that facilitates the fishing cultivation here is the warm ocean current, that is Guinea warm ocean current, which is present right here. If we talk about the significance of this particular place, geopolitically it has always been sensitive because this place has seen multiple coups, military rule and changes, and this is something that is seen in whole of this West African belt. As I said, economically becomes fundamentally important for the cashew supply chain. India imports from here for processing, and environmentally, if you understand, the mangrove conservation as well as the coastal vulnerability in terms of sea level rise because of the climate change becomes important from the perspective of your exam. Now moving to the next place that we are covering today, that is Georgia. It has been in news because India and Georgia have decided to enhance cooperation in two particular sectors. First is sericulture and then we have textile trade. Now in this context, Georgia has been in news. If we talk about the location of Georgia, it is located at the intersection of Europe as well as Western Asia. So if you see, on one side we have Europe across the Black Sea, and this side we have West Asia where it is bordering multiple countries such as Turkey, then we have Armenia, we have Azerbaijan and Russia on one side. We can also see that it is on the very coast of Black Sea, which gives it better accessibility in this situation. In terms of geographical feature, it is known for the prominent Caucasus Mountains, two especially, Greater Caucasus and Lesser Caucasus, which you can see marked right here. The highest peak present here is Mount Saqqara, and it is the presence of Black Sea which gives it the strategic maritime access, and that is why it becomes a very important component for east-west energy transit corridor, right from Baku, Tbilisi and Sihan. That is the connect which is present across from east to west, and then in another context it provides also an interconnection in one way with international north-south transportation corridor. This region happens to be vulnerable to earthquakes because it lies at the convergence of two important plates, Eurasian plate and Arabian plate as well. In terms of your exam, this becomes highly significant in terms of geopolitics because as of now Georgia is also in news because it is the key tension region between Russia and NATO for two special reasons, Abkhazia and South Ossetia. All of these reasons are in conflicted zone. Georgia has been highlighted for the conflict and how it wants to keep away from Russia. Furthermore, it as a connectivity point of view, we have to understand it is a critical link between Europe, Central Asia, and it is a main fulcrum point when we talk about the Caspian energy route. In terms of geography and environment, because it lies at the convergence point of two important plates, earthquakes, glaciers in the Caucasus Mountains changing with climate change, and also the Black Sea ecosystem. All of these become important. Furthermore, the mapping. We have seen map-based question present in prelims. So, from that point of view also this is important. Now, moving to the next one we have in news is Mount Semeru. Mount Semeru has been in news because it has erupted again, and a lot of evacuation has taken place in Indonesia. Now, when we talk about the location of Mount Semeru, you can clearly see present very close to Jakarta, and if you are able to mark the presence, you will be able to identify that it is part of Pacific Ring of Fire. This is where Mount Semeru is located. So, when we talk about the volcanism here, we have already understood the reason that it is part of Pacific Ring of Fire. It is the highest volcano which is present in Java, and it is a stratovolcano. That means we get to see a steep cone, and the eruptions that take place are explosive. The deeper detail associated with its volcanism, apart from being part of Pacific Ring of Fire, is the fact that it lies very close to subduction zone. Can you tell me which two plates I am referring to this in terms of subduction zone? Let me give you an example. Subduction zone always, it takes place, the formation of it takes place when there is convergence of an oceanic and a continental plate. And because of this extreme volcanism, it is here we get to see lava domes, pyroclastic flows, and also lahars. Lahars are basically volcanic mud flows. Around Semeru, we find fertile agriculture land because of the presence of fertile volcanic soils, which creates a hazard also because of the dense agriculture. There are dense settlements, and they are at the risk of the natural hazard which is present here. If we talk about the significance in this particular situation, you have, from the perspective of exam, the location itself becomes very important because it talks about subduction volcanism, plate tectonics, and explains the eruptions, the frequent eruptions and the volcanic activity that we get to see. In terms of environmental dimensions, you have to understand volcanism is very much associated with effects, be it on the settlements present, in terms of ash affecting aviation, affecting the environment. All of these needs to be considered, and the risk which is associated with the geophysical and environmental factors is the high disaster exposure to the dense population which lives there. Now, on this note, we will be moving towards Indian places which are in news. The first one that we are doing is Bitra Island, which is present in Lakshadweep. Bitra Island has been in news because Indian Navy is going to enhance its presence, and it has chosen the smallest island of the Lakshadweep archipelago. Now, in terms of location, as I mentioned, it is the smallest inhabited island of Lakshadweep. It is part of the Amini subgroup which is present in Arabian Sea. It is known for its coral atolls, lagoon and reef system, and the white sand shallow marine ecosystem which is present there. That is why it remains vulnerable to the sea level rise, the coral bleaching, and also cyclonic storms that we get to see in Arabian Sea. The population of this particular island is heavily dependent on means such as fishing and also coconut cultivation. Now, when we are talking about this particular location and Navy ramping up its presence here, it means that the vulnerability heightens because of the presence, but also another important factor is that Lakshadweep serves as a maritime frontier on the western end for us, which highlights the strategic importance of this place. Other than that, we also get to see that it can be a case study in terms of coral reef conservation, understanding and conserving biodiversity in especially fast warming Arabian Sea, which is a very important reason that we get to see a lot of cyclogenesis in Arabian Sea as compared to earlier times. In terms of disaster management, that is GS3, high vulnerability associated with this coast, be it related to storm surge or the climate change, needs to be understood. Now moving to the next place in news, that is Amravati. Center is finally about to give a legislative status to Amravati, and that is why it has been in news. If we talk about the split of states, that is Andhra Pradesh and Telangana back in 2014, initially the political party in Andhra Pradesh was going for 3 capitals instead of just 1. That was Guntur, Vijayawada and Amravati, but now Amravati has been finalized as one and it will also get the legislative status very soon. If you talk about location, it is located right on the banks of Krishna river in the Guntur district, and that is why it is known for the Krishna river floodplains, which offers the fertile alluvial soil, very important for agriculture. It is also known for the cyclone influenced life that we get to see. If you talk about the recent cyclone Ditwa, which created havoc in Sri Lanka, but it also affected regions of Andhra Pradesh, including Amravati and Tamil Nadu. But it is more known for the planned greenfield administrative capital, which has grid roads, government complexes and riverfront development. That means this can be a case study when we are talking about urban planning, especially in the context of greenfield administrative cities. Other than that, it remains highly vulnerable to cyclonic winds, flooding and riverbank erosion. It has also importance from the perspective of art and culture because it is surrounded by rich Buddhist heritage such as Amravati Stupa. In terms of significance, you have to remember that it becomes important from the perspective of urban planning, disaster management, because it is a prime example of how climate resilient electric infrastructure needs to be built, especially in a place which is prone and vulnerable to cyclones, which is part of a floodplain, and how this can be made resilient. And from the cultural perspective, it is also important, as I highlighted, because of the presence of ancient Buddhist heritage. Now on this note, moving to the last one that we are covering today, that is Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, which is present in Uttar Pradesh. Dudhwa National Park, the only national park of Uttar Pradesh. Now in this particular tiger reserve, recently a rainbow water snake was spotted, which was spotted for the first time, highlighting the ecological richness of this particular region. If we talk about the location, it is located in the Terai region of Uttar Pradesh along the Indo-Nepal border. So if you see this particular location, this is where is Nepal. So this lies exactly on the border. You can see it right here, and it is part of Terai region. Furthermore, it is also part of Shivalik Terai landscape. So basically, if we talk about Himalayas, the last and the smallest range, Shivalik, and this is where we get to see the re-emergence of rivers, and this is the marshy land, which is also known as the Terai landscape, and it is also a global biodiversity hotspot. So this whole region comprises of Dudhwa National Park, Dudhwa Tiger Reserve, Kishanpuri Wildlife Sanctuary and also Katarni Ghat Wildlife Sanctuary. Can you tell me in the comment section which are the wetlands which are the Ramsar sites in Uttar Pradesh? So this is the ecosystem where you find Terai grasslands and salt forest as well as wetlands. Some of the key important species such as Bengal tiger are present, one-horned rhinoceros, Barasinghas, that is swamp deer, which is also the state animal of UP, and Gangetic dolphins, which is the national water animal of our country. Rivers such as Suheli, Sarda and Mohana. Suheli you can see very clearly marked here. These are the rivers present across the region. In terms of significance, it is known for the biodiversity. In terms of conservation, it is very critical in terms of tiger habitat, and it gives a direct corridor to Nepal's Bardia National Park. And in terms of ecology, it has a unique Terai ecosystem and it is also known for human-wildlife conflict challenges often. Now that was all from my side. If you have any doubts or concerns, you can put it down in the comment section. Thank you so much.